Hey guys, this is Sergeant Phoenix back in the action, and as you can see, this is a list of my favourite characters and why. Now, I'm going to start with the fifth one to my all favourite one, so we're going down from 5 to 1. Now, first on the list is Akiza. Now, it was actually difficult to choose her between the fourth one. Now, Akiza is obviously a character from 5Ds, as the title says, and she's actually one of my overall favourite female characters because of her backstory, her slight character development, and her deck. So I've set up a system where I'm going to explain. So the reason I like her is because of her character development and how conflicted she is. Because as a psychic jeweler, she was always looked at and feared by most people. But then she was taken to an academy and then manipulated to do what her new master practically wanted her to do, so he could create his own little army to take over. But when she met Yusei, she immediately knew what was right and what was wrong. And her design and overall view and everything on both her character and the way she develops is just well written. And it's the word I'll put, well written. Because my problem is usually with female characters, and even in today's designing like Star Wars and other things, there's not much development. They just make them instantly good, but they don't explain how they actually get good. There's no mention of the story, there's no mention of the development or the struggle. And for me, Akiza's a story about how she confronts her parents and how she just learns to finally control that power that she possesses is by just using the right emotions, by truly knowing herself, is what makes her excellent as a character. Now, her deck is a plant-based deck. Her signature card being Black Rose Dragon, which the design alone is just beautiful. I'm quite a I do like floristry stuff, and flowers are actually some of my favourite things to look at and get inspiration from as a costume designer who even makes his own designs for stuff. Now, since she has a plant deck, there are different types she has, and they're mainly rose decks. And I'm actually hoping soon to actually do a deck profile on her deck that's just going to be rose based. Now, on my fourth character list, I've chosen Yusei Fudo. Now, most people are going to think, why Yusei on fourth? But like I said, this was a difficult one because I had to look at character developments and everything, and most of the characters here fit. On my top 4 just fit the list of character development and plot. Now, Yusei is a kid that was born in New Domino City, but after Zero Reverse happened, he got moved to the satellite sector, which is not exactly the best place to be. Because it's mainly like a crime area. Now, Yusei's development is still good, but still a little narrow. But after season 2, you do see development. Because you see how he's conflicted inside himself, of like how his dad could do all this, how he even on season 3 against Zone, how he failed, but his dad told him that he didn't fail, which was really good. Because I always like those characters who look back at themselves. They realise who they really are, who they want to be, not who they need to be. Which is what makes them different from most characters. Because it's, as a wise old man once said, it's not our abilities that show us who we truly are. Who we are is our choice in the end. And his deck is quite unique, I can say, but that's like with most of the characters and like your main characters. Now, his deck is obviously synchro based, and the variety is that he's actually got multiple strategies for multiple ideas of how to do things. So if he can't use one synchro, he has a way to summon back others, and also has ways to keep using neutralize his opponent's abilities thanks to both cards and his synchros, which is really good. Now we're up to character 3. Trudge. Now, he was actually the first deck profile I ever did for this channel. And honestly, he's one of my favourites overall. And mainly because of how funny he can be, like comedy wise, and also how he improved on from being a stuck-up officer to actually being someone who you could actually look up to. But one of my favourite moments of Trudge is on season 2 when Akiza's beginning her final exam for dual run, or using her dual runner, because he played against her the same way I would play against my opponents, and I did this with my opponents, literally pushing them around, like being harsh on them and stuff. And most of my friends did ask, like when I did that, why would I do that? That's because I'm pushing them to actually stay focused, to not let anything distract them. Because of a few words get in the way of them learning how to adapt and how to keep playing, then they need to rethink their entire plan. Because that's the best way to teach someone how to play properly, is to make sure they can't get psyched out, almost like casino playing. But I feel we did see him a bit on Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 1, the very first Yu-Gi-Oh! Like he was a student. Like I think it was confirmed it was Trudge, as far as I read, and that's actually quite cool. So we got like a little heads up of Trudge. Now, Trudge's deck is actually quite good. Other players use his deck, but that's all because he has what is known as a pursuit deck, which is basically to neutralize opponents and to limit their options. So one of them, the main one is Goyo Guardian, which is the synchro. And the cards that he uses to summon it also help, like Stygian Street Patrol, Stygian Security. He also has the Stygian Synchro monster, whose name I can't remember, but it's still a good card to use. His deck's quite basic, but it's still quite effective against some decks, like beginners and stuff. And that's mainly because in the Satellite, people didn't really have strong decks other than Yusei. Now, for second on the list, as you can see, it is Aporia. Now, Aporia's deck, I have managed to just profile. Now, Aporia's one of my major favourites because of his character plot, his story arc. Now, Aporia when he was just a young lad, was just a normal kid enjoying life. But then when the Mech Lords were created and then started destroying humanity, he lost his parents in the first day. When he grew up and fought with the Resistance, he lost his ally, who was also the woman he loved. But then when Zero Reverse happened, when he was just an old man, that's when he lost the world. He lost his entire world and was looking for survivors. And that show, and during that time, you could just, on the episode, you heard him screaming if anyone was out there to answer him, and he heard nothing. And that to me is like really depressing and really good for a character, because it shows how much hope that character had in the most darkest time of history. And we learned that when Primo, Lester and Jacob merged together, that they were actually Aporia himself, and this was actually thanks to Zorn, who's actually on the top of the list, which I'll explain why. Now, Aporia's deck is actually the Mech Lords themselves. Now, he has the Emperors, which were the ones who were destroying the world, but he also has the Mech Lord armies and traps and spells that help summon them out. Now, on the anime, his deck, the Mech Lords, are a little different, but in real life, they're all just one card. But in the anime, they're all Mech Lords. The Mech Lord Emperors are made up of 5 monsters. Let's say I was to summon Mech Lord Weisel, it would be Weisel Infinity, Weisel Top, Weisel Guard, Weisel Attack, and Weisel Carrier. So then all of them work together to combine their attack and defense to create Mech Lord Emperor Weisel. And then there were other cards like Guard 3, Attack 3, Top 3, Top 5, Carrier. Like, you could actually upgrade the card itself, which was really good. And like I've said, he's one of my major favourites because of his design, his character development. And on the last episode where you see him duel against Zorn, you show how much hope he has, and the episode there of him using the card of it that gives him hope Afterglow. Now, on the top of the list is Zone, like I mentioned. Zone is perhaps one of the most well-written characters, in my opinion, for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of how lost he was and how much hope he tried to create for the world. During the same time as Aporia, in the future when the Mech Lords were attacking, there was absolute chaos, no hope, nothing. But when he looked at the history of Yusei, he then became Yusei, literally. By literally, you could say plastic surgery or cybernetic enhancements, and literally looked exactly and sounded exactly like Yusei. This was because he wanted to remind people of that hero and give them hope. Using Stardust Dragon, he neutralised the Mech Lord Emperors, and then started giving people hope. But when Zero Reverse happened again, he lost everything. And he lost hope. Until he started meeting Paradox, Aporia, and the fourth character, who's basically Bruno in the future. But the reason that made him more impressive, that he actually started dying, so he used a life support system to stay alive, which is the big piece you see on him. And him and the others were devoted to restoring the world to how it was before the end happened. But everyone started dying, so he started cybernetically cloning them, which was impressive. And in the end, he saved Yusei, which was really good. He knew that in order for the future to change, he needed to stay alive. So my only hope is, in that future then, did everything not happen? Because I can imagine, like in season 3 ending, Yusei will do everything in his power to make sure it doesn't happen. Now, as for his deck, Zorn uses a Time Lord deck, which I fear is level 10s. They can't be normal summon. They can't be normal summon normally. They have to be normal summon without tributing if you have no other monsters on the field. But they can be special summoned, but not from the deck. But there are cards that can change that. And the deck's built on basically neutralising the opponent, just weakening them like crazy. Now, this is honestly why I like Zone the most. His deck's not too advanced, but it can be dangerous in the wrong hands. And it's just amazing. It's literally amazing how his deck's developed the way he is. And even his dual disc system, which is incredible. Literally giant arms with a giant cards, which is just crazy. Of all the things I expected, I did not expect that when I saw him duel against Aporia and Yusei, which was really cool. Now that we've reached the end of the video, comment down below what your favourite character is from 5Ds and why. And even ask me if you would like me to do a deck profile on those characters' decks, and then also give me a reason, because I would like to actually do other characters from other series. I have a list of like my favourite characters from different series. But until then, this is Sergeant Phoenix, over and out.